Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, we're going to travel the highways and byways across the Silver State with a leading expert, and plus find out about wildlife that's located right around Reno and Las Vegas. You might be surprised what's out there. Ray Hager has the rundown.
Thanks, Sam. Today's first guest is Rich Moreno. We're going to be talking about his new book, Nevada Trivia Book and Roadside History. Then we have Phil DeManczuk, who is a wonderful wildlife photographer.
And on the Power Pundit panel today, an unusual Power Pundit panel today, we have a passel of pastors. We're going to talk about the fact that we've had all these great natural disasters. Has the Almighty forgotten us? It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, just 10 minutes east of Sparks, we are constructing a 16-mile expressway connecting I-80 to Highway 50. This expressway provides direct access and will make it much easier to get to work. A direct route for employment opportunities. From 100% fiber optics to clean, reliable power. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The resort at Red Hawk offers you two great dining choices. Experience David's Grill and Sports Bar or the Steakhouse at Red Hawk. The Steakhouse has received the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence based on a diverse selection of fine wines. To accompany the wines, the Steakhouse serves certified Angus beef steaks in a variety of cuts, fresh fish, chicken, and pasta dishes. For fun and casual dining, come to David's Grill and Sports Bar. David's is open 7 days a week, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The resort at Red Hawk. Always the right choice.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and social security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof.
Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%, lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, welcome to the program, the publisher of Nevada Magazine, Rich Moreno, 6 times a year. I get great delight in reading, I think, one of the finest magazines in the country. You have come out with not one, but 2 books.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. An updated version of the Roadside History of Nevada and also Nevada Trivia. Let's start out with Roadside History of Nevada. Tell me something interesting about Northeast Nevada and the town of Tobar.
Okay, well, it's a good one. Tobar basically was a railroad town, and when the railroad established, this is the Western Pacific Railroad, when they established this community in the early 20th century, the first business that opened there was this tent, and they put a bar in there, a saloon. And so one of the patrons decided to go out and put a sign out front. So he scrawled on a piece of wood, just bad handwriting, to bar. And he went up and he nailed it up on a sign out there. Well, other people came along, they saw this sign out front, and they thought, oh, the town is Tobar. And that's how the town got its name. So it was a directional sign.
What a Nevada story. The beginning of the town was a tent.
Right.
And a bar.
And a bar, yeah. So, but, no, there's a lot of stories. One of my favorite stories when I've been wandering around the state that I recall from several years ago was being in Manhattan. And I was there with taking some travel writers around.
Manhattan, Nevada.
Right.
Which is near Round Mountain.
Yes. Yeah. So I was out there, and I saw this thing that was on the side of one of the bars, because there's only 2 businesses in Manhattan, bars, both of them, and a library. You put that together. So I was there. They had this piece of wood that was up against the side. It looked like a big Keno ticket with numbers painted all over it. And then it had like kind of wiring around the edge. And so I went and asked the guy who ran the bar, what is that thing? He said, oh, we lay it flat on the ground and we have our chicken hitting contest. I thought, what is that? And he said, well, we throw a chicken in there and we bet on what number he messes on. And so that's what you do for fun out in some parts of rural Nevada.
Well, that's before digital TV. But Rich, you know, talking about, in your book, you talk about Bugsy Siegel and the flamingo. Why doesn't Las Vegas or Nevada in general embrace its past? Like, you know, we talk about mobsters started Las Vegas, wink, wink, but then again, when history is written, that's kind of shoved to the side, and we don't embrace our true history, it seems
well,
like.
I think that's changing. I mean, you've got people like Oscar Goodman who want to have a museum.
A mob museum.
A mob museum down south.
It was clearly shouted down.
Right, but he at least made the proposal.
Right.
And I don't think, as far as historians, I don't think anybody has ever tried to deny that. I mean, every history book mentions the role, and in fact, I think sometimes Siegel's role is overstated. He's the father of the Strip. You know, there's all kinds of things like that. Well, it isn't true. I mean, even the Flamingo wasn't built initially by Bugsy Siegel. It was built by another fellow, and Siegel muscled his way in and took it over. So, you know, that the reality, and that's where historians come in. The reality is he had a role. He played an important role. He brought attention to Las Vegas. He brought celebrities. You know, I mean, he was kind of an early version of what goes on with the Palms and the Hard Rock and everything today, of bringing attention. If they'd had MTV in 1946, they probably would have put it at the Flamingo. You know, one of the real life with Bugsy. So, but I don't think historians try to hide that at all. I mean, there's books out there that are about that subject. And D. Castleman, who wrote a book about Las Vegas a few years ago, actually in the foreword says they should put a statue of Bugsy Siegel in Las Vegas to recognize the role that he played. So, you know, I don't think it's really that hidden.
Well, he says it, but it doesn't seem like the city fathers are moving.
Yeah, but as long as the movie Casino is around, you know,
the movie Bugsy, you know, which took some liberties with the truth. And it made it seem like Bugsy was Brigham Young. They came out in the desert and said, this is the place.
You know?
Right, Benjamin.
Don't call him Bugsy. All right, Nevada Trivia. It's a great book. How did you set about writing it?
Well, this was a project where I decided the only way, because I have a full-time job, the only way that I was going to get this written was to get up every morning a couple hours before I had to go to work and set goals for myself. So in this case, I sat down and tried to write 12 to 15 questions every morning, and I would gather material, you know, throughout the week and over time, and then I would sit down and pour through and try to write the answers, the questions and the answers. This is a little bit different than a lot of other trivia books that are out there, in that I think I put a lot more detail in the answers so that you get a more complete story. And I spent a lot of time with Nevada history in this because I happen to like history.
Okay, your favorite piece of trivia?
Boy, in the book, okay. I think... actually, some of the ones that didn't make it in the book are the ones that I really liked. But I will tell you that. I know. I know. No, I think there's some fun stuff in there. What two counties are named after two men that ran against each other for President of the United States?
Would be...
What do you think? Lincoln and Douglas.
Oh yeah, sure.
So there's stuff like that.
It's early in the day. We haven't been drinking enough coffee yet.
How many states touch Nevada?
6.
That's 5.
I was close. Where did Pershing County, was that General Pershing?
General Jack Pershing, you're right, yep. And some of the information...
How about Lovelock?
It's actually named after...
Oh, man. You know, first you take on Carson City, now you're going after poor Lovelock.
I love Lovelock as a town.
It was actually named after an Englishman who had the first major ranch out there, George Lovelock.
Okay, we're almost out of time, but you're working on a new book as well.
Yes, and in fact, it's about Carson City, your favorite town.
Which is a fine town. Okay, so the books are, that we're talking about today, Roadside History of Nevada and Nevada Trivia by Richard Moreno. Where can people buy these?
You can get them at Borders, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore, Sundance.
And also, don't forget to up your subscription
to Nevada Magazine, right.
It's a great magazine, Thanks so much for being here, Rich.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers.
And I love Lovelock.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seem to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Many of the materials we rely on every day come from the ground, and modern mining technology brings them to us cleaner and safer than ever before. To learn more about America's natural resources, visit nma.org, the National Mining Association.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by Phil DeManczuk, who owns DeManczuk Photography, and he is a premier photographer of wildlife. He's just extraordinary. And the reason I wanted you to be on the program was that there is so much wildlife around our major cities. And I know today you're going to focus on northern Nevada, but it's also true of southern Nevada as well. Walk us through, if you would, some of the photographs you brought.
Are we putting them up on the screen now, or?
Yes. There's the first one.
What I concentrated on today locally is bald eagles. We have pairs of bald eagles who stay here on a year-round basis. What a lot of people are unaware of is that this time of year they migrate down from up north, and they come in great numbers and will winter here. There are times, and this is what I'm working on right now as we speak, along the Truckee River as the kokanee salmon and the fish are running, where there are areas up around the Truckee area you can see a couple of hundred bald eagles at one time. All these shots that you're looking at right now were photographed in that area. And I do go up to Alaska, as you know, quite a bit, and I go up to Homer in the big eagle wintering areas and so forth. But in the fall, I pretty much stay around here, and I think it's proof that there is some absolutely terrific natural resources here that people aren't aware of and that we need to protect.
Describe this one for us, if you would.
Oh, that's a bald eagle feeding on a salmon. As we were talking about, this is up in the Boca Stampede Reservoir area, a hot spot for eagles again this time of year.
Is there any secret to being a wildlife photographer?
I mean, how do you get a shot like this?
You know, people ask me, the favorite question everybody has is, how long did it take you to get that shot? I tell people, well, about 36 years and 1/25th of a second. I spend a lot of time out there. Oh, shucks, it's my job. It's tough, but I have to do it. Yeah, it's. I cover a lot of real estate. Spend a lot of time in the backcountry. Unfortunately, wildlife photography is about 20% of actually being behind the camera and snapping the shutter. There's the business end of it and organizing files and getting the work out and what have you.
What type of camera do you prefer for wildlife photography?
35 millimeter is standard for wildlife photography. I happen to shoot Canon right now. I was with Nikon Professional Services for some 30 years. Canon has superior big lens technology, which is my bread and butter. Also lighter weight. It's made out of composite materials. That's about 30% lighter than Nikon. And if you're packing this stuff up and down hill and dale, and if you notice I haven't gotten any younger, the weight issue becomes very important.
For those who are listening to this on KOH and are going, this is great, but it's radio, do you have a website? That
I look great on radio.
You do. You look fabulous. You look about 20 years younger, funnily enough. Do you have a website at this point where
I do.
people can go and look? Okay, you know what? Don't name it. We'll just have people go to NevadaNewsmakers.com and we'll put it on there.
Excellent.
And then that way folks who are listening
Thanks
on
so
KOH
much.
can get a chance. Another extraordinary shot here.
And I might mention, too, that starting in the May-June issue of Reno magazine, I'm going to be doing a regular feature every issue on wildlife photo essays, mostly local wildlife. And there's a big editorial commitment from a lifestyle magazine. Reno magazine is not a wildlife magazine or a photo magazine. They're a lifestyle magazine, and they're making a commitment editorially that wildlife in the outdoors is certainly part of our lifestyle in northern Nevada.
And they're published by the Reno Gazette Journal. If I may throw that in.
Yeah. Oh, okay, and I'll be sending in a bill for the 30-second plug there.
Sorry.
Now, this is a great shot here. Explain what's going on here.
This is, 200,000 images in my library, and I have to tell you, this is one of my all-time, if not my very favorite. This is what I'm looking to do with my career at this time, and it's just not getting an animal in the viewfinder. It's about animal behavior and what's really going back there. This is a mule deer doe. There's a buck in the background that was grazing, but staring up in a tree, looking at a quail that's staring back down at the buck. I don't name a lot of my photographs. I did name this exchanging glances, and I just love the shot. First light of day. I mean, the sun is just coming up.
Where was this taken?
Again, up around the state line, Truckee, the California-Nevada border. I spent a lot of time up there.
So now, if the average person would want to take these kind of photos, and obviously not to the level of quality, but what do you recommend to them to do? I mean, do you just go out there and sit and wait?
Well, obviously there's more to being a wildlife photographer than just the technical aspects, and you certainly have to learn that, because when stuff happens, it happens fast.
For example, with this...
Yeah, that's about as close to these are not local, by the way. This is an Alaskan brown bear up in the Kenai Peninsula.
And that's a salmon in his mouth.
And that's a salmon in his mouth, and I got way too close to that bear. That's a little bit better working distance. I believe that's also the Kenai Peninsula. That's Kodiak Island. Those are two 1,200-pound bears going at it. And that was actually I've made 21 trips up to Kodiak. That's my very first trip.
That reminds me of President Bush and Harry Reid.
Yeah, very much so.
Well, Phil, I want to tell you, I just love having you come on the program and showing these photos. And again, for folks listening on KOH, or for folks who would just like to see more of your work, we'll put your website link up on our links on NevadaNewsmakers.com. And thanks so much for being here.
Always a pleasure, Sam. Thank you for having me, and happy Thanksgiving.
And to you too, sir.
Thanks.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
How long does it take to get to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park? Well, it's just 10 minutes east of Reno Sparks on Highway 80, just minutes from the airport. And under construction is an interchange linking I-80 to TRI's 4-lane USA Parkway. And soon this parkway will connect Interstate 80 to Highway 50. How far is the world's largest industrial center from your home? It's a lot closer than you think. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe boating campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
The Resort at Red Hawk offers you two great dining choices. Experience David's Grill and Sports Bar or the Steakhouse at Red Hawk. The Steakhouse has received the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence based on a diverse selection of fine wines. To accompany the wines, the Steakhouse serves certified Angus beef steaks in a variety of cuts, fresh fish, chicken, and pasta dishes. For fun and casual dining, come to David's Grill and Sports Bar. David's is open 7 days a week, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The Resort at Red Hawk. Always the right choice.
For more than a decade, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has been helping the community embrace conservation as a way of life. That includes replacing more than 50 million square feet of grass with water-smart landscaping, During the worst drought on record, watering restrictions and tough landscaping codes have reduced the community's water use by billions of gallons, even as thousands of new residents were moving into Nevada. That's smart water management, and that's our promise to Nevada.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Now, we really have a Power Pundit panel today, I got to tell you. Joining us today is Dr. Clair Earl. He's president of the Reno, Nevada stake of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Father George Bratiotis, who is with St. Anthony Greek Orthodox Church. And we also have Father Chuck Durante, Our Lady of Wisdom University Catholic Community. And the reason I invited you gentlemen here is we're taping the show the day before Thanksgiving. And I'm thinking there's an awful lot of people in the world who don't have much to give thanks for right now. I mean, you look at, in the last year, we've had the tsunami, we've had the earthquake in Pakistan, we had Katrina. The president asked for a day of prayer after Katrina. We had a day of prayer, and Hurricane Rita struck. Has the Almighty forgotten us?
I'll defer to you.
Well, I would say absolutely not. And the challenge anytime we're in the midst of tragedy is to celebrate the goodness that comes even in the midst of tragedy. And what I see is the tremendous amount of outreach that has happened as a result of all of those things, people reaching out to others and trying to understand each other, trying to help each other in any way they can. And I think it's an opportunity for us to look at, especially in our own country, with Katrina and Rita and so forth, the roof has been blown off of poverty in that area that a lot of people never saw. And I think it's an opportunity for us to look again, and so to give thanks for another chance to lift people up.
But it just kind of seems like the wheels are coming off, Father George.
Well, you know, there has never been a time that calamity and war and difficult moments don't exist. We were talking a little earlier before the show that we had paradise once, and that went away. And so calamities and wars and plagues and difficulties are going to be there all the time. But I look at particularly a very, very favorite passage of mine that St. Paul wrote to the people of Ephesus. And St. Paul said the words, "Give thanks to God at all times and for everything." And that means even in the adverse times, even in the difficult times. I was very, very enheartened to see so many of the folks that were struck, particularly by Katrina, that their response was, thank God. We have our families, we have one another, we've survived, we have our will and our determination to come back. And so in the midst of that calamity and in the midst of that difficulty, people are still finding ways to give thanks. And as Father Chuck said, the opportunity now exists for us with our blessings to assist and to help those, because the calamities are always going to be there. They are not going to go away.
So Dr. Clair, why do we have these calamities? What is their role in the scheme of things?
Well, as Father Bratiotis has said, calamities have been about us, and they will be here now, and they'll be here in the future. I think that in the midst of calamities, we must count our blessings. We must recognize our Heavenly Father for His mercy, for His tender mercies to us all the time. I think
even when that doesn't seem apparent.
Even when that doesn't seem apparent, we should look for it. Our Heavenly Father has given us His Son, Jesus Christ, as an example, as our Savior and our Redeemer, families, friends, many blessings. And in the midst of day-to-day living, we must continually look for every blessing, be thankful for every blessing, and be willing to share, be willing to help another, be grateful for families. Many families will gather this Thanksgiving time. There must be prayers of gratitude, and there are. And then to reach out, as Father Durante has mentioned, to help those in need. Gratitude, thanksgiving, two elements. One is the expression, the attitude of gratitude, and then the acts of kindness, of charity, of helpfulness. And I think that's what we're about, what we need to do. Count every blessing, find ways to assist.
Doesn't times of calamity draw people to faith? Does it?
Absolutely. I think.
I believe.
Yes, I think it's when we're most vulnerable, and that's when God can get in. The rest of the time we're proud and we keep God at a distance, and I don't need God maybe, but when I'm hurting, then I can turn to God. And I think God is present in the midst of those times. That's what the cross says to us.
Right. God does not go away from us. He is there always, and in the midst of the good moments and the joyous moments and the difficult moments as well. He does not distance himself from us. On the contrary, we often distance ourselves from him, and yet he is there, and he is there to receive our prayers, our petitions, our requests in the moments of difficulty, and he is also there to receive our words of thanksgiving and praise. Sometimes we as clergy wonder which ones outweigh the other. Are the requests and the askings and the petitions, do they outnumber the thanks?
And that's where we got to leave it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here, and we give thanks for you being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the dining car restaurant. For a quick bite and the best sandwiches in town, it's the Whistle Stop Deli. And for the best appetizers and menu selections and a large variety of cocktails, beers, and martinis, it's Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Monty Ranch Parkway.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
Happy Hour at the Peppermill.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers online at nevadanewsmakers.com. Coming up next week, among the guests, U.S. Senator John Ensign and former Governor Robert List. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.